everyone, hope you're doing well, and greetings today from not the office. We are having our episode for the first time outside our office, outside Dubai, outside UAE. It's in very special country, very special city. To me, to everyone that I told, and they have even visited the city, they really fall in love with it. So greetings from Lisbon, Portugal. The special city, the special country, the special things about it, and even also in our special office of our associated team in Lisbon, Portugal. We're having today a very special dear friend and dear advisor in terms of investment and even also in terms of life in Lisbon or in Portugal in general. So we're really expecting a lot of special information and special details about not only the golden visa, about the country even. So allow me to introduce my special dear friend, John. Thank you, John.
Tony, it's been a while. 6 years in the making.
Yes, 6 years when we met in Dubai, we clicked, and then we had a lot of good time. And I really thank you for the hospitality, even for me and even also for the people who they are with me to look after the golden visa and even also to explore the city for their first time.
Pleasure.
Yes, I have been in Lisbon since 2017, but you know, like you have your ways to show me the city. I'm really amazed every day that whenever I come to Lisbon, I see that a lot of good opportunities. To be honest with you,
absolutely. Lisbon's one of these places that just keeps growing and evolving. I always tell people this is a third-tier city becoming a first-tier city. True. There's a lot of growth and opportunity here. A bit of background me for the audience.
Yes, we need to know. Yeah.
So
they need to know.
They need to know. Just for you guys. My background is I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I founded a bunch of companies, sold a bunch of companies, and the latest part of my career, I've really been focused on investment management, investment advisory services, all around the world, from Hong Kong to Portugal to England, wherever it is. I find myself in Portugal for 10 years now.
10 years.
I've been living here on and off for 10 years. And I randomly got involved with golden visas over 6 years ago.
Wow. Can you, sorry to interrupt, but
course, go ahead.
You said that you've been like staying on and off in Lisbon or in Portugal in general for 10 years.
Yes.
Can you tell us the first day in Lisbon? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. It was a very different place back then. Mm-hmm. It was October 2014.
Okay.
And it was a rainy day, I remember.
Okay.
And I was living in an area called Oriente, or Parque de Nações. I had taken myself down to the square in Chiado, Praça de Luís Camões, and I was just blown away by how hospitable people were, how amazing the food tasted, how cheap it was. I just moved from the UK.
So in terms of prices, I believe it's a big difference.
Yeah, so it was really different, and your money just went a lot further. I was taken back by the beauty. Used to grey walls and pretty awful-looking scenery to this really picturesque, amazingly beautiful place, and I fell in love with my first day. And I've found myself leaving now and again, and if missing it and bringing myself back constantly.
That's so true. That's so true. Even also for me, when I came 2017, I really felt warm city, warm place.
For sure.
Today, even also, I was surprised. I went to one of the coffee shops and then I had coffee, small biscuit and this water. Then I was thinking that could be 10 euros, 15 euros, 20 euros. And then I was shocked. It's 6 euros. My gosh.
You're not in Dubai, Tony. Some people in Portugal would say that's expensive.
Oh, wow. My gosh, even the taxis.
Yeah.
That's great. So without any further ado, let's talk about the investment and the golden visa processes. Of course, just to give a little bit background about the golden visa for the people who they are watching the episode and maybe they are really exploring their places. The Portuguese golden visa started in 2012.
Yes.
And then back then they had not a lot of, but a various of options to apply. One of them, and it was the famous investment option, which is the real estate or buying property. with a certain amount, 500,000, and then some of the time it went down for some of the options.
Correct.
And some of the criteria to be 280.
Yep.
And then recently the real estate or the property option has been closed, and only now the investment fund.
Absolutely right.
But from your point of view, why the government decide to close the real estate option?
Ooh, we're getting into politics here, Tony.
We need special information.
Look, there was a feeling, an incorrect feeling, that golden visas were driving up the cost of property. The government at the time took the stance that golden visa was used as a political pawn, to put it no other way.
Okay.
Right. That's and you got to remember. I can't remember. I'm sure someone in the audience will correct me, but something as little as 0.2% of all real estate transactions were golden visas. So I find it difficult. The data doesn't show that they were impacting property prices. What was impacting property prices was the influx of people, right, and the lack of supply.
Okay.
So the increased demand, lack of supply drives up costs. Simple economics, right? But the real estate was used as a political pawn in this, and it was taken away. Now there's no going back. It's not coming back.
Absolutely.
It is what it
even
is.
You know as well. We were discussing it before about even Spain. They also closed their golden visa program. I believe the whole program now. Correct. It's been closed. And they were even also discussing before that to close the real estate option, but now it's completely closed in any way.
Correct.
So let's talk about the golden visa now. What is the investment? What does it mean about the investment option?
So you invest half
investment
$500,000.
Fund, yeah.
It's an investment fund. So there's a number of ways. If you roll back for a second, there are a few ways you can get a golden visa, right? Option number one, you can donate 250,000 euros to the government, right?
You can donate.
You can donate. It's a donation. You can't get it back. It's gone forever, but you can donate. You can start a business here, and you can employ people. There are many ways you can do it. The one that makes the most financial sense for people is the investment fund. Now, how does that work? That's a €500,000 investment over a period of 5 years. So you invest 500,000 euros on day one. Most funds have a life cycle between 6 to 10 years. 6 the shortest, 10 the longest. You have to have been in the Gold Visa program for that amount of time, and then you can activate. The way it works is you get a temporary residency that convert to a permanent residency on year 5, which you can then turn into a citizenship. There's some things you need to do to convert it to citizenship, e.g. you have to have a basic language test. Don't want people to get scared about that. It's a very basic test, kindergarten level type stuff. Some people find language more difficult to learn than others, and they might say, actually, that's really hard. The people that I've worked with have genuinely found it easier. And it depends where you're coming from. To your audience who are from the Middle East predominantly, it's much easier, right? Because there's a lot of crossover in the language. We were talking about this recently, right? That generally, if you speak Arabic, it's much easier to learn Portuguese versus if you speak Chinese and then learn Portuguese.
True.
It's more difficult.
That's true.
So
even between 700 to 1,000 words, the Arabic and the Portuguese language they share.
Exactly. And even the sounds are quite close together. Lots of sh and k, right, sounds that exist. Whereas, in Chinese, there are a lot of sounds, not the same.
It's a big difference.
Big difference. So it depends where you're coming from as well, how quickly you pick up the language. But that's the big thing. Once you pass the citizenship, and granted you haven't committed any criminal offenses, you get your citizenship, right? And then with your citizenship, you get a passport at the end of that period of time.
Great.
That's at a very high level.
Yeah. So we were talking about the investment options in general, but opening a company and then hiring employees, let's say, how many? What are the minimum employees to be hired?
Again, someone can fact check this. It's around 10 people over a period of time. I'm not really in that space. I know people. It's very rare people do that.
Yes.
So I've never really looked at it.
It's very complicated because you have to prove that you hired them. and even also to pay the salaries on time, the taxes, and even also the company to be profitable.
Exactly.
So it always requires a lot of matters. It is between
100%.
10 to 18 people,
Yes.
employees, and based on that, of course, with the proving all the evidence, then you can apply. So the only thing that everyone has to know that watching this episode, that all the investments or all the options has to be in.
Yeah.
So all the options, they have to invest it or to apply or to submit, let's say, their investment option or to start the company and so on. Then they can do the submission of the golden visa. So let's talk about the investment fund now. May I know, or can we know more details about the company?
Yeah, for sure. So I represent, I'm an advisor to a number of funds. I'm pretty picky about who I work with, as you know.
Yes.
And the kind of funds I work with invest in projects that are cash producing, shall we say. So there are projects that are more speculative. Maybe you're buying, and I won't try and call out anyone in particular here. Maybe let's say you're buying airplanes as your investment strategy. I wouldn't work with those people, right? Because it's very challenging to understand how the my number one priority is, how does the investor get the money back, right? What are you doing? What are you investing in order to return the capital with a profit to the investor? Now, the companies I represent, and I'm sure you can share them with your audience, they buy things like logistic companies, manufacturing plants. They're buying water bottling companies, things like that, which is just spinning off cash, right? And then scaling them up. My special focus on them as well is advising them how to approach looking at technology companies doing the same thing, right?
Technology is the future.
Technology is the future. So I really help out when it comes to entertainment and technology. Where can you invest in entertainment where it's really buying a cash producing asset that you can scale up the operations, create efficiencies, right? And then with technology, how do you buy technology that's doing the same thing? And I advise on those sort of investments, but I partner up with these funds that are not just doing that, but buying traditional blue chip assets, right?
But can we get more details about the investment itself? Like, it is €500,000 in any way, and then there will be a lot of not a lot of, but there will be proper agreements between the clients or the individuals who they are interested for the golden visa, with yourself, with the company, and then based on that, of course, they will start opening the process and so on, and then we will talk about it from that legal perspective later on. But today, the most common question they always ask: this $500,000 guaranteed?
Nothing in life is guaranteed.
Yeah, right.
Look, you can have a suggested amount that you're going to return to people, right? You can try and say, my targeted returns are 4 or 5%. You can work with companies to try and supply that amount. What I mean by that is, maybe if you can lock up an agreement with an insurance provider, there's lots of ways you can do it.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, none of it's guaranteed.
That's the thing. And then I really wanted to remind everyone why I really trust you, John, and trust the company, because that's the transparency that we're really looking for. Because I have seen in other companies, and I have seen in other agents that they say it's guaranteed after 5 years or 6 years, you get your money back, you get your, a percentage of profit and so on. So that's the thing, that's the reality. And as you said, nothing in life is guaranteed.
Well, talking directly to your audience, I can assure you, if anyone's guaranteeing you the money back, run a mile.
Yes, they're lying.
It's lying.
Yes.
Legally, you can't do that. You can't even say the words, I guarantee at the end of the period, you will have the money in your account.
Sure.
It's not possible, right? It goes against what you can say in a regulatory environment, but also it's unethical, because at the end of the day, you're investing. Investing is risky. There's different types of risk. You can go from low risk to high risk, but there's still risk. Wherever you're on the spectrum, there is risk. You can't get away from it.
But there are always chances, or let's say the precaution steps that to do to at least maybe protect the investment fund in the best way possible.
Yep.
Can you tell us more about it?
So I'll tell you about how I look at investing, and maybe that'll give some insight to the audience. First of all, we pull together the money from the investors, and we screen the investments. what are we doing here? We have a bunch of criteria that we're looking at, from how much revenue they're spinning off, what's the EBITDA, what's the potential for growth, a whole load of data points that go through an analyst. And then from the analyst, they go to investment manager to review, double check that makes sense. And from that, they go to an external source to double check that work. And then they eventually end up in the investment committee to look at all that information and decide whether you make an investment, right? So all these different steps along the way are sense checking at every point that we're making the right investments, backed in data. For me, there's no good feeling about investments. You can't be like, oh, I like Tony, he's a good guy. I like you, Tony, but I want to see the numbers behind what you're saying.
True.
I want the data.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to check that everything you're saying is right.
That's the professional people, they do.
Exactly.
But I really like something that we were talking about it yesterday with the investors that they came with me. Sure. When we talk about, we're ready, we're convinced and let's go for it. And then they said that how we can transfer the funds to your company.
Yes.
Then you corrected them. You said?
It goes to a custodian account.
Yes.
So you don't just transfer the money to my company and that's it, and then I start spending the cash. It doesn't work like that. There needs to be checks and balances. You need to be able to, first you need to justify. The fund manager has to sign off every investment and then needs to tell the custodian bank account, I'm sending this and here's all the paperwork that backs up. This is a real investment, right? I'm not just going buying yachts and Ferraris with the money, right? This is like a legit thing I'm buying. So there's always a check and balance, even after someone has gone through the process. There's a regulatory need to make sure this is an actual investment going to a real company with substance. And substance is an important word here. Not just going and buying something crazy. It has to match what your thesis is. So if our thesis says we're buying cash producing assets that are stable income, and we go and buy a project that will take 10 years to build and is super risky, will get rejected. Well, you're buying something and you're not saying that you're doing.
Who has the authority to reject or approve?
So the fund manager, there's a couple of layers. The fund manager is the person that's puts everything towards the investment committee. From there, once you submit, so that's the first layer of checking, right, from everyone in the investment process. After that, the custodian account, the regulator, will check that what you're submitting to invest in is true and right. And they can then, that's the final rubber stamp there at that level, at the ministry level, to go approved or rejected.
So the ministry?
The regulator.
Okay.
So they will check what you're doing is legit and right.
Okay. And then also we were talking about it earlier, like maybe 1 year or 2 years ago, about the investment. It has to be in Portugal with a certain percentage as a minimum. 60%
of the investments have to be within Portugal. 40% can be outside Portugal. So, for example, we're doing a deal right now in Germany, right? We're doing investments out there, but that's going to be count as our 40% that sits outside.
Yes.
Right. The bulk of it sits within Portugal. And that makes sense because the idea for the Golden Visa has to stimulate this economy.
Income to the country in any way.
Exactly.
Yes.
It has to benefit this country, and I totally respect that.
Absolutely.
So it's good. It helps stimulate the economy and helps grow businesses and companies here on the ground.
Great. So what are is there any insurance companies that can cover, I don't know, the losses in case if anything happened, God forbid?
Individual funds are known to work with insurance companies, for example. Now, I will caveat this saying that it doesn't matter if you work with an insurance company or not. That insurance company can go bust. So at the end of the day, there's risk involved all around.
Yes.
But yes, there are companies, for example, and we've worked with insurance companies before at our fund that buy the option for the upside, right? But again, something can happen to the insurance company.
Yes,
it's not straightforward. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom and negative.
No, we're talking the reality, which is this is what we need to have. We
exactly.
need to do we need to transfer the information in transparent way so that people can even also know exactly what is the pros and cons of everything.
And then it's a financial product.
Yes.
So there's a whole bunch of ways you can try and control how the investment works, and we try and make sure that it's the best route for our investors. But anything can happen, right? We can have World War III tomorrow. Markets can collapse.
Yes.
Who knows? So it's just important to lay that out. But yes, in regards to insurance companies, there are people, and we've done it, where you sell the upside of an investment in order to lock in a certain return and say that, okay, the insurance company will choose to pay out 5% annually or whatever, but you don't get any of the upside of the investment. This happens. Yes.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the important question now. I am an investor and I'm ready to invest $500,000.
Yeah.
What are my options? Because you mentioned about the profit, whether to be fixed profit or to be unlimited, let's say, profit or loss.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about it?
So on the normal fund process, how funds will work is if it's an 8-year fund, for example, we'll just choose 8 years as a normal example. By year 4, you want to start giving back the investor money, right? So about halfway through the life cycle of a fund. By year 5, 6, they should have hopefully returned all the money. And year 7 and 8 all the profits that you would have had, right?
So
And that's
basically,
an
they will not have any profit for the first year, second year, and so on until the 4th year.
Yeah.
The 4th year they will have some of the profit, and then the year 6.
Yes.
Right.
Is that where all and that's how the general life cycle of a
Yes,
fund works.
should be where the year 6 should be the whole fund, like let's say the $500,000,
Yes.
to be returned
Exactly.
completely, and then afterwards will be the profit.
Exactly. In the example of an 8-year fund, an example of a 6-year fund, you're aiming to return the money by year 3 or so, right? And then year like 4, 5, and 6 profit. Now, all of this is theory. It can be year 4, right? Happens year 5, might be sooner, might be later. This is the theory. The application is always different.
That's so true. That's so true.
Right.
And the other option?
The other option is, for example, you work with an insurance company, and we've got insurance providers you can work with, where they underwrite the option, right? And then you don't have any upside, but they choose to say, okay, and you create an agreement with them where there's 4 or 5 or whatever percent, and then they pay that out annually, but you don't get any of the upside. They take the risk of the downside, but they have faith in then there's going to be an upside. Okay,
that's great. Can you, for the final matter, I would love to tell us more about the what is your advice for the people who they are looking for the golden visa, and what the areas that they need even also to be more careful about.
Do your due diligence, everyone. You want to check what is the investment thesis. What are they investing in? How have they done this before, right? You have lots of first-time fund managers going out into the market.
Here we go.
I was a first-time fund manager at one point. I
That's
get it.
true.
Like, it's not a problem. But check my thesis. If you're working with me, do you really believe what my investment strategy is? Will that return the money? So that's the first thing I'd say to do. The second is ask your friends. Check the market in Portugal. Come spend time here. See what you're investing, because your 60% of your money is going here. Understand what this place is. Right?
Need and require, yes?
Yes, 100%. You're, at the end of the day, you're doing this to become a citizen of Portugal. You want to check what you're getting to bed with. Right?
True.
I think that's super important.
True. One last question. What is the common mistake that the people, after they approach you, that you feel like they are really doing this very common mistake?
Hiring bad lawyers.
That's so true.
Is a really bad one.
So true.
Listening to false promises.
Yes.
Accepting people just giving you the rose-tinted glasses, everything's going to be perfect, and then being surprised when things go wrong.
Yeah. True.
Especially when people are just giving you those kind of false expectation. Those would be the big ones for me. And also not coming here. People maybe come here once or twice and they don't really form a connection with this place properly. I think it's really important. It's a special place. Come spend time here. Figure what it's about.
True.
But your partners is the number one thing. Whether that's people setting up your bank accounts, to the power of attorney to trust people to execute things on your behalf. It's really important to get that stuff right. True. And that can go really wrong if you hire the wrong people.
I agree. I'm a little bit greedy. I need more details.
Of course.
Can you tell us any story from any one of your clients, who they started with you, they got their money back, and even also their profit, and now they have also the passport.
Yeah, for sure. for sure. We should probably do an episode with a success story at one point.
Yes.
That'll be good. I've got an English guy, for example, that comes up to my head that came 6 years ago, one of my first ones, and he's just got the passports. Came through the property route, not the fund route at that time.
Back then, yeah.
Right, because there was mainly property. This is less. This is also something to always watch out for. If someone's claiming to have given the passports at the fund level, I would be skeptical of that because it's only just really started happening now. Most people did the property, not the fund. I would sense check if that's true. So, bought a property, went through the process. Took a while, to be transparent, to get the residency card. It took over 18 months. Not all. So sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. That's I've seen it take as much as 2 years. I've seen it be as quick as 3 months. It depends. And that goes back to partners.
True.
Using the right ones. But walked through the process with him, helped him choose the apartment. It was actually Martin, helped him choose the apartment, did it. Good project, bought for a good price. And that's when there's bad actors in the market. For example, I know people that have come to me with horror stories going, I bought this place for 400,000. It's not even worth 100,000.
Oh, whoa.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
You've got to be careful what you're doing. Back to the due diligence. Do the due diligence on everything. But went through the process after 18 months, got his cards, did his last renewal. He's done his citizenship, passed his language test, and now has the passport,
That's
and,
great.
I think it'd be great episodes for him to walk you through his process.
Would love
why
to.
Someone from England chose to leave.
The first question will be why.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brexit is your answer.
That's so true. John, I can't thank you enough for the insightful information of this episode. Of course, it's going to be continued. And next time we'll be in the office, but I need you just to finish in Portuguese language, if I may. Just a small, little, tiny thing.
Boa continuação, meus amigos. Tudo bem.
Okay, and the only thing that I know, obrigada.
For you, obrigado.
Obrigado, okay. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Much
Cheers.
appreciated. Cheers.